GCSE Geography, Globalization, the AQA A specification. So, to start with, I'm just going to go through a few keywords. Globalization, the increasing links between countries throughout the world and the greater interdependence that results from this. Interdependence, the relationship between two or more countries, usually in terms of trade. The multiplier effect, where initial investment and jobs leads to knock-on effect, creating more jobs and providing money to generate services. Deindustrialization, the process of decline in some types of industry over a long period of time, which results in fewer people being employed in this sector and falling production. Cash crops, crops sold to make money. Food miles, distance the food travels whilst being transported to the market. Carbon footprint, the amount of CO2 produced during growing and transporting food. Subsistence farming, food produced for the farmer's family, and commercial farming, food produced to sell. So, what is globalization? Well, globalization is the process of the increasing links between different countries throughout the world and the greater interdependence that results from this. Globalization occurs due to international trade, international investment, and communication improvements. Countries become interdependent on each other due to globalization, which means that they can rely on each other for resources and services. So, what have improvements in ICT and transport led to? Well, in terms of ICT, emails, internet, and mobile phones, as well as phone lines, allow communication to occur faster and always carry information faster. As a result, businesses around the world communicate much quicker. For example, a company with its headquarters in one country and factories or branches in another country, or in other countries, can communicate more easily, such as Nike. Also, no time is lost, so it is very efficient. Now, in terms of transport, transport improvements result in more airports, faster trains, and larger ships. As a result, more people can communicate with others around the world face to face quicker. As well as that, companies can export and import supplies much quicker. They can distribute their products around the world quicker too. Fortunately, companies no longer have to be near their supplies or products anymore. Now, call centers and locally industrialized regions. Call centers are used by companies to handle inquiries about their company. Many call centers are based abroad as labor is cheap, which reduces costs. For example, the average wage in China is 95% lower than in the USA, so a company may want to base their call centers in China because labor is much cheaper. For example, Aviva, an insurance company, moved from the UK to Sri Lanka and India in 2004, as labor there is 40% less than in the UK, which makes it cheaper for the company. Locally industrialized regions, I shortened it to LIR. Improvements in ICT and transport allow industries to develop around the region, which is useful to them. However, they still have global connections to get things they need. For example, many motorsport companies in Oxfordshire and Northamptonshire have their HQ there, such as the Renault Formula One team. They're close to the Silverstone racetrack, so as to test cars, and there are many skilled workers, such as drivers and engineers. Manufacturers use the internet to send and receive information and data about their cars. So now, TNCs, what are they? Are they good or are they bad? Well, TNCs are companies that produce and sell products. They also have their operations in more than one country. They increase globalization due to the fact that they link countries together through production and sales of products. They also usually locate their factories in poorer countries due to the fact that labor is cheaper. This means that they can make more profit. On the other hand, TNC headquarters are located in richer countries because there are more people with administrative skills because of better education. Advantages. TNCs create jobs in other countries. Employees in poorer countries get a more reasonable income than on agriculture, so farming. TNCs spend money to improve the infrastructure as they contribute to tax for development of airports and roads. Also, new technology and skills are brought to poorer countries. Disadvantages. Employees in poorer countries are paid less than employees in richer countries. They also, employees in poorer countries work longer hours and in poor conditions. Factories in poorer countries are usually referred to as sweatshops. Profits are brought to richer countries and are not reinvested in poor countries. Jobs in poorer countries aren't secure. They can easily relocate to a different country, which results in unemployment. Sorry about that. An example case study of a TNC is Nike. Some of you may have used Coca-Cola or Walmart, but I'm using Nike for this video. So Nike was founded in 1972 and its HQ is in Beaverton, Oregon. 75% of its workforce is in Asia, in places such as China, Vietnam and India. It has over 600 factories and 800,000 workers worldwide. So advantages of Nike. There is cheap labour, so Nike save money. And again, China's average wage is 95% lower than in the USA. There are also low energy bills and tax rates in factories in Asia. There's also fast production and improves the skill base of the working population. Nike also have a $19 billion revenue totals annually. Because they don't spend that much money on tax and energy bills, they have a large amount of profit. And tax from Nike contributes to infrastructure for the development of the country they base their factories in. On the other hand, disadvantages include the fact that it is hard to deal with many factories around the world, which are often referred to as sweatshops. There are transportation and operation costs. There's a long transport time period. There is also a concern about the political influence of advertising, as advertising undermines national culture. Investment can quickly be transferred from Vietnam, for example, elsewhere, which results in unemployment. So, manufacturing industry growing in countries. Many countries have relied strictly on agriculture for many years and have now seen a massive rise in the manufacturing industries, which is known as industrialization. These countries are known as NICs. India and China, for example. TNCs have increased manufacturing in NICs by locating their factories there, and there are 5 main reasons for this, which include cheap labour. NICs don't have minimum wages set by the government, so it reduces the cost of manufacturing goods as factory workers are paid less. Also, long working hours. Working hours rules aren't as strict in poorer countries as they are in the EU, so they make their workers work longer, so more product is made on the day. Health and safety. There are less health and safety regulations in poorer countries, so they're often not enforced in NICs. This lowers the cost of manufacturing goods due to the fact that less money is spent on increasing safety of the factories. Strikes. Many NICs do not allow their workers to go on strike due to low pay because of low wages. As a result, money isn't lost as employees do not stop working. Tax-free zones. Some NICs offer TNCs a tax reduction if they decide to move manufacturing operations to their country. Also, some NICs have tax-free zones, so TNCs do not pay taxes if they transfer manufacturing operations to the country. These methods increase profits of TNCs as they pay lower tax. Manufacturing industry declining in countries. Deindustrialization is starting to decline in countries such as the UK. This is because the UK has a massive history of manufacturing cars, for example during the Industrial Revolution, but this has decreased over the recent years. Why does deindustrialization actually happen? Well, manufacturers transfer operations to poorer countries as they can produce products more cheaply. They also close down as they cannot compete with the price of goods manufactured abroad. When deindustrialization occurs, manual workers lose their jobs. Buildings also become derelict when factories shut down. There is also an increase in service industries such as banking and insurance. They pay people higher wages than manufacturing, so deindustrialization has got a positive aspect to it too. Why are companies so attracted to China? Well, China has become a special economic zone known as an SEZ, especially since the 2008 Beijing Olympics. As China is a communist country, there is a closed society. However, shortly after the Olympics, China opened up to many other countries. Many companies built offices there as a result of the Olympics. A positive factor for China is that there were many jobs offered to build stadiums such as the Bird Nest, for example. So other factors include high population. 1.3 billion people live in China, so there is a larger demand for labour. Cheap labour which means that there is cheap labour for companies. Also, there is an increased demand for electrical household goods. More goods means that more people buy them, which increases the GNI of China. Hydroelectric power. The Three Gorges Dam is the biggest hydroelectric power station in the world, which generates 22,500 megawatts of energy when fully operational. Many businesses are powered by the station. The energy produced is sustainable, so there is not much harm done to the environment, which supports the Kyoto Protocol, which I'll get on to in a bit. There is also a cheap workforce in China. China's average wages are 95% lower than in the USA. Therefore, companies locate within China because of a lower cost, and therefore greater profits are made, which is why China is a more attractive place to locate a factory in. SCZs are located on the southeast coastline in places such as Shantou and Shenzhen to encourage business into China. There are often factories there, and there are reduced tax rates. Energy demand. Globalization increases the wealth of some poorer countries, so, as a result, countries buy more things. Many things, such as fridges, use more energy, so energy demand increases. Well, why has global demand for energy actually increased? Technological advances mean that many more new devices are created which all need energy, such as computers, mobile phones, etc. These are becoming increasingly popular, which means that more energy is needed. The population of the world was 6 billion in 2000 and is expected to rise to 9 billion by 2050. As a result, more energy will be needed as there will be more people. Producing more energy has many impacts. Energy is produced from burning fossil fuels, nuclear power, wood, and renewable energy. Increasing energy production leads to social, economic, and environmental impacts. So, social impacts due to energy demand include more power plants have to be built, so people have to move away from their homes to allow a power plant to be built, which is a negative impact. Another negative impact is that power plant waste is radioactive and can cause death or illness when it is leaked out and can contaminate land. However, a positive impact is that increasing energy production creates more jobs to build, run, and maintain the power plant. Environmental impacts include burning fossil fuels release CO2, which contributes to global warming. This can cause rising sea levels, extreme weather, and destruction of habitats, causing species to go extinct. I can't speak today. A negative impact. Burning fossil fuels also releases harmful gases that dissolve in water, such as acid rain, so more burning fossil fuels means more acid rain, which again is another negative impact. Wood to burn for fuel causes an increase in deforestation, which destroys habitats, another negative impact. And finally, transporting oil is risky, as tanks can leak or spill, which kills birds or fish, such as the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. And an economic impact of energy demand. Countries with many energy resources become richer as energy demand increases, which means that countries with fewer resources buy them. Globalization and food supply. Food production has become globalized. People mainly ate a small range of seasonal food which had grown in their local area before the 1960s. There is a large demand for seasonal foods, no matter what the growing season is, which has led to globalization within the food industry, as food is produced in foreign countries and is imported. As the population increases, the demand for food also increases. Therefore, countries are trying to increase food production to meet their demands. However, some countries cannot achieve this, so they have to import food. So, some key definitions here. I'll just go through the ones that I haven't said at the start of the video, which actually I have gone through all of them at the start of the video, so it's just a little recap. Impact of more food production and importing food. Environmental. Transporting food produces CO2. The higher the food miles, the more CO2 produced, which contributes to more global warming, a negative impact. Larger carbon footprint means more CO2, which means more global warming, again, a negative impact. Farmers use marginal land to produce some food. The soil is thin and quickly eroded by farming, which degrades to environment, which again is another negative impact. However, a positive impact is that imported foods travel a long way, which have high food miles and carbon footprint. However, the benefit is that there is a wide range of food available all year round and helps to meet food demand for countries who cannot produce it. A negative economic impact is that using chemicals helps to produce crops which can be very expensive to buy. Farmers may borrow money to buy chemicals, which results them being in debt. However, a positive impact is that farmers generate steady income by producing food for export to other countries. A negative political impact is that there is a lot of water needed to produce lots of food. Farmers in countries with low rainfall need to irrigate the land with water from rivers and lakes, so as water demand increases, there are hostilities between countries who use the same water source for irrigation, such as Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia, who share the River Nile. And finally, another negative impact, which is a social impact this time. Some farmers switch from subsistence farming to commercial farming so as to make more money due to high demand for food. This reduces the amount of food for local people, so they have to import food. If food prices go down, farmers may not earn enough money to buy food for themselves. Reducing the impacts of globalization. Renewable energy use is a sustainable way to meet energy demands. Energy production must be sustainable as it needs to allow people to get energy, but without preventing people in the future to get energy, so this must be done without damaging the environment or using up resources faster than they can be replaced. Fossil fuels are not sustainable as they are non-renewable, so they will run out and won't have any left for future generations. It also damages the environment as CO2 is released when it's burnt, which causes global warming. Energy produced from renewable resources is sustainable as it does not damage the environment and won't run out. Examples include wind energy, blades on turbine generate electrical energy, solar power, energy from the sun is used to heat water and cook food, hydroelectric power, which is water trapped behind the dam and forced through tunnels, which turns turbines into tunnels to generate electrical energy, and biomass, which is material from alive organisms or that were recently alive, which can be burnt to release energy and be processed to produce biofuels, which again are burnt to release energy. Limiting globalization impacts. For example, the London Array. The problem with limiting globalization prevents production as globalization has increased the rate of globalization and has used many resources such as fossil fuels. Also, an increase in atmospheric pollutants such as carbon dioxide have led to climate change and acid rain. The London Array has been used to fix this. The London Array is the largest offshore wind turbine farm in the world and is a consortium of 3 world-leading renewable energy companies, E.ON, Dong Energy and Masdar. There are 175 turbines which generate energy to power nearly 500,000 UK homes and reduce harmful CO2 emissions by more than 900,000 tonnes a year. The London Array is a sustainable way for generating electricity as it uses renewable resources, wind. As the United Kingdom is on an island, strong winds blow very frequently, thus generating more electricity. As a result, it makes a big difference to the environment, as well as helping provide a reliable electricity supply to southeast England. So limiting globalization impacts, again, the London Array, advantages and disadvantages. Advantages include 35,000 jobs expected by 2020, which is an economic and social impact. An environmental impact is that it reduces CO2 emissions by 900,000 tonnes a year, and the wind farm is not unsightly due to the sea location. Also, there is 630 megawatts of energy generated, which is enough to power 500,000 homes. Also, high wind speeds at sea reduce transmission losses, so it is better than building on land. Disadvantages, however, it costs £1.8 billion to build, which is a severe economic impact, as it affects the economy very severely. It's also very difficult to build, as the construction of turbines and blades also contribute to CO2 emissions, which is an environmental impact. Another environmental impact is that it is a threat to wildlife, as turbine blades cause approximately 4 bird deaths per turbine per year. It's also difficult to maintain and repair, and turbines produce noise. Older designs typically produce 40 to 50 decibels. However, modern designs produce less noise, and 40 decibels is only equivalent to the noise of 15 kilometers per hour winds. So, again, reducing the impact of globalization. The Kyoto Protocol is an international agreement signed by many countries such as Japan, China and Russia, which was set in 1997 to cut CO2 emissions and other gases by 2012. This, as a result, was renewed again in 2012. Every country that signed was given an emissions target. The UK, for example, was given a target to reduce emissions by 12.5% by 2012. The 3 countries which didn't sign the protocol was Russia, Sudan and USA, which is quite ironic because the USA is the largest CO2 emitter in the world. The protocol also includes a carbon credits trading scheme. So countries who came under their emissions target got carbon credits. This means that they can sell their credits to countries who didn't meet their emissions target, which means that there is a reward for having low emissions, which also boosts the economy. Countries earn carbon credits by helping poorer countries reduce their emissions, so as to help poorer countries as well reduce their emissions quicker. Another protocol that was set is the Gothenburg Protocol. The Gothenburg Protocol in 1999 set emissions target for European countries and the US to cut harmful gases emissions by 2010 to reduce acid rain and other pollution. So the US does actually have a target to reduce CO2 emissions as well as other pollutants. So recycling and buying local. Recycling within globalization causes people to have access to more products at lower prices, so they can afford to be more wasteful. For example, people throw away damaged clothes instead of repairing them. Thrown away items get taken to landfill sites, so the amount of waste at landfill sites increases as globalization increases. A way to reduce its impact on a local sale is to recycle waste to make new products, for example, recycling bottles to make new ones. Buying local. Many celebrity chefs, such as Jamie Oliver, and food writers have been encouraging people to eat more locally produced foods. Buying local foods reduces food miles, which helps local farmers and businesses. People in poorer countries remain without a job if people only buy locally. So that was globalization. Here is a quick quiz to recap your knowledge, to summarize it. I'll just take you through them, then you can just pause the video and I'll give you the answers once you've pressed play. So number 1, define globalization. Number 2, how have improvements in ICT contributed to globalization? Give 2 reasons why China has become an economic giant, which actually a typical exam question is to, usually the 8 marker is to explain why China has been so attractive, why it's become an economic giant. Number 4, give 1 advantage of a TNC and 1 disadvantage. And finally, number 5, define cash crops. So if you just want to pause the video now and then press play once you've written the answers. So the answers, number 1, globalization is the increasing links between different countries throughout the world and the greater interdependence that results from this. Number 2, improvements in ICT lead to quicker and easier communications between companies. It is also efficient as no time is lost. Number 3, China has become an economic giant because there is cheap labour. The minimum wage in Shenzhen is £90 per month, whereas it is £990 per month in the UK. And because there are longer working hours, 40 hours per week with 36 hours overtime, so production of goods is maximized. An advantage of a TNC is that it creates jobs in poorer countries. However, a disadvantage is that employees actually earn very little money. And finally, number 5, cash crops are crops sold to make money. So I hope this video has helped you develop your understanding on globalization and just basically summarize it for you in kind of a short space of time. So thank you for watching. Leave any helpful tips in the link below. I'm still quite new to this, so yeah, I'm still trying to work on it, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.